For a deep dive, the Baseball Hall of Fame just dropped their 2025 inductees, and we've got a mountain of articles and stats to unpack.
Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Three massive names are stepping into those hallowed halls. Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia.
Yeah, names you've probably heard before.
But hold on, the one that's really turning heads is Ichiro Suzuki.
The first Japanese-born player ever to crack the hall.
It's huge EE. So we're going beyond the numbers today. What does this induction really mean for the sport? Our sources dig into Ichiro's impact beyond the stats, and it's massive, especially in Japan.
It's not just symbolic. The Hall of Fame is incredibly selective, so this speaks volumes about Ichiro's skill.
Right, it's more than just feel good.
And it shows how baseball's evolving globally.
That global aspect, how do the sources describe Ichiro's influence beyond just like numbers and records?
He was a true trailblazer. His success showed young athletes, especially in Japan, that you could reach the top regardless of where you come from.
I can only imagine that feeling of national pride.
Absolutely. The articles capture this beautifully. Talk about inspiration for future generations.
One source mentioned a mind-blowing stat. Ichiro set a single-season hit record back in 2004, 262 hits.
Yeah, tough to beat that.
What made his hitting so special? Did the articles mention anything about his technique?
He wasn't a power hitter, more about contact and getting on base.
Speed over strength?
You got it. They describe his technique as almost scientific bat control, hitting to all fields, and his dedication to training. Legendary.
So it wasn't just talent, it was that work ethic.
Exactly. Relentless pursuit of mastery.
There's a lesson in there for all of us, no matter what we're chasing. Okay, switching gears to Billy Wagner. I gotta be honest, I'm not as familiar with his career. Sell me on it. Why is HE a Hall of Fame material?
Dominant closer. That's the key.
Which often gets overshadowed.
Big time. But crucial for a team's success. Think of it as the fireman coming in to shut things down in those nail-biting moments.
High pressure.
Absolutely. And his stats speak for themselves. 422 career saves, 11,196 strikeouts, and an ERA of 2.31.
For the non-baseball fanatics out there, break down that ERA. Why is it so impressive?
ERA stands for Earned Run Average. It basically tells you how good a pitcher is at preventing runs. The lower, the better. And 2.31, that's lights out good. Shows how effectively Wagner shut down opposing hitters.
He was a wall. Okay, the sources say Wagner's impact wasn't just about stats. They talk about modern relief pitching. What does that even mean? How did he change the game?
Before Wagner, closers were often just guys who could throw hard.
Right, just chuck it as fast as possible.
Exactly. He brought this whole new level of intensity and aggression.
So more than just throwing heat.
Way more. High-velocity fastballs, yes, but also sharp breaking balls, and this intimidating presence on the mound. He redefined what it meant to be a closer.
He brought the heat in every sense of the word. All right, last but not least, we have CC Sabathia.
A name most folks will know for sure.
But what makes him stand out in a Hall of Fame kind of way?
Longevity, for one.
Yeah.
The guy pitched for 21 seasons.
Whoa, that's incredible.
Practically unheard of. And it wasn't just about sticking around. He was consistently great. We're talking Cy Young Award winner, workhorse on the mound.
Yeah.
The real deal.
Stamina for days. The sources mention this transformation in baseball's legacy.
Big picture stuff.
Yeah, how does Sabathia fit into that?
He embodies how the sport's evolving. A leader both on A&D off the field.
Right, I remember him being very vocal on social justice issues.
Exactly. Using his platform for good, mentoring younger players. The articles really highlight that. His induction shows that those qualities matter, alongside his achievements on the field.
It's not just about the game anymore.
Exactly. It's about impact, leadership, the whole package.
Now back to Ichiro for a sec. I was reading he was one vote shy of unanimous selection for the Hall of Fame. Why would anyone not vote for him?
Well, that's the thing about Hall of Fame voting.
It's not just pure stats.
Right. It's subjective. Different voters, different criteria.
Yeah.
Some might focus on certain eras, playing styles. You know, it's a reminder that even in a sport dominated by numbers, individual opinions matter.
So it's not just about being great, it's about how that greatness is perceived, even across generations.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What really makes a player great? Beyond the stats, the wins.
Okay, before we go any further, let's recap. We're talking about three incredible players. Ichiro, blazing a trail for international players, a master of hitting. Wagner, the dominant closer who changed the game with his sheer intensity. And Sabathia, a model of consistency and leadership over a crazy long career.
Each of them brought something unique to the game, no doubt.
Their Hall of Fame inductions are well-deserved, but it's their stories that really grab you. what they say about how baseball itself is changing.
That's where we're going next. These individual stories of greatness are woven into a bigger narrative about how baseball's evolving. More global, more diverse.
More than just a game.
Exactly. And more attuned to those qualities that make a player truly impactful on and off the field.
I'm already hooked. We'll be back after a quick break to dig even deeper into these amazing careers and uncover more about how baseball is changing. Stick with us.
Welcome back, folks. It really is amazing how these personal stories fit into the larger story of baseball's evolution.
It's like assembling a giant puzzle, isn't it? Each player a piece, and we're seeing how they all connect. Speaking of puzzles, let's unpack Billy Wagner's impact a bit more. You mentioned modern relief pitching. What did he do that was so revolutionary?
Wagner brought an intensity to the closer role we hadn't really seen before. It wasn't just about getting batters out, it was about dominating them. One of the sources described his pitching style as an all-out assault.
So more than just throwing hard, because lots of guys can throw hard.
Right, he had the velocity, no question, but he also had pinpoint control, especially with that slider of his.
Strategic pitching, not just brute force.
Exactly, keeping hitters off balance, never letting them settle in at the plate. And there was this fierce competitiveness about him, and you could almost feel it through the TV screen.
Sounds like he brought a psychological edge to the game as well.
Oh, absolutely. Wagner really changed how people viewed the closer's role.
Yeah.
He paved the way for guys like Mariano Rivera and Aroldis Chapman. They came after him, but they built on what he started.
A true legacy influencing generations of pitchers.
Okay, let's talk about CC Sabathia for a minute. 21 seasons, that's longer than some players' entire careers. How did he stay at the top of his game for so long? Any insights from the articles?
One word. Adaptability.
Interesting.
Sabathia came into the league as his power pitcher, throwing heat. But as he got older, he learned to rely more on finesse, hitting his spots, changing speeds. He evolved.
Yeah.
And that's key to surviving in baseball for that long.
That's a great lesson for anything, right? Adapting to new circumstances, constantly learning. It's not just about raw talent. It's about evolving your approach.
Couldn't agree more. And on top of that, Sabathia was known for being a great teammate, a leader, both on and off the field. The articles highlight his mentorship of younger players, especially during his time with the Yankees. So a good player and a good guy, which honestly is what we want to see more of these days. Athletes who use their platform for good. Speaking of which, let's circle back to Ichiro's impact back in Japan. The sources talk about how his success went way beyond just baseball.
Oh, yeah. It was huge, EE. One article even called him a cultural icon in Japan.
Wow.
His disciplined work ethic, his humility, he never seemed to let the fame go to his head. And of course, that relentless pursuit of excellence. It all resonated deeply with Japanese fans. He became a symbol of national pride.
That's powerful stuff. It makes you realize how sport can connect people, inspire them on such a deep level. It's not just about wins and losses.
Exactly. Ichiro's legacy goes way beyond baseball. He's a role model from anyone, anywhere, who's striving to be their best, no matter what their field is.
Now, you mentioned Ichiro's unique hitting style earlier. The sources called it almost scientific. Did they go into specifics? Like, what made his approach so different?
One thing they highlighted was his incredible bat control. He wasn't swinging for the fences every time. He was more about making solid contact, placing the ball where he wanted it.
Smart hitting, not just power hitting.
Exactly. Combine that with his speed, and he was really tough to defend against. He mastered hitting to all fields, finding those gaps in the defense and exploiting them.
So much strategy involved.
And his focus on fundamentals was intense. Swing mechanics, pre-game prep. One article even mentioned how he used to take hundreds of practice swings every day, even before games.
Talk about dedication. Proof that greatness isn't just about talent, right? It's that grind, that constant pursuit of improvement.
No doubt. A message that resonates no matter what you're trying to achieve. Having a plan, discipline, and never settling for good enough.
All right, we've talked about a lot of positive stuff, but did the sources mention any challenges these guys faced? Because I'm guessing the road to the Hall of Fame wasn't always smooth sailing.
Of course not. Every player faces adversity at some point. For Ichiro, one of the biggest challenges was adapting to a new league and culture when he came to America. New language, different style of play. He had to overcome a lot of skepticism, people who doubted he could make it in Major League Baseball.
I bet. To come to a new country and dominate like that.
It's easy to forget those challenges when you're looking at a Hall of Fame career.
For sure. What about Wagner? What were some of his obstacles?
For Wagner, it was injuries. He battled them throughout his career. Multiple surgeries, setbacks. He had to fight his way back onto the mound time and time again.
Takes a lot of mental toughness to come back from that over and over.
Absolutely. And it speaks to his dedication. It wasn't just physical talent, it was that refusal to give up.
Yeah.
Just as impressive as his on-field accomplishments, if you ask me.
And Sabathia?
Sabathia's challenges were more personal.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled with alcoholism. He had to go to rehab, and he was incredibly brave for sharing his story publicly.
It's a reminder that even the most successful people can face some really tough personal battles.
Exactly. It makes his achievements even more impressive, don't you think?
Definitely. It shows that greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about facing those struggles head on.
Resilience, perseverance, and using those experiences to grow, both the good and the bad.
Powerful stuff. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something we haven't explicitly talked about yet. The significance of these inductions for baseball's global expansion.
That's a key point, especially Ichiro's induction. It's a watershed moment for international players, a sign that the baseball world is recognizing the talent that exists beyond America's borders.
It feels like we're witnessing a shift, doesn't it?
Absolutely. More and more international players are making their mark in Major League Baseball. And it's not just individual stars either. Programs like the World Baseball Classic are helping develop talent globally and showcasing the sport's international appeal.
It's exciting to see baseball become truly global, embracing talent from every corner of the world.
For sure. And I think this trend is only going to accelerate in the coming years. The future of baseball is global, and these inductions really drive that point home.
I can't wait to see where it goes from here. This deep dive has been amazing, showing us that baseball is so much more than just a game. It's a reflection of our culture, our values, even how our understanding of greatness is changing.
Well said. And we're not done yet. When we come back, we'll have some final thoughts on what these inductions mean for the future of baseball, and we'll see if we can extract some wisdom from these amazing careers. Stick with us.
Welcome back to our deep dive on the Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2025. It's been a wild ride exploring the careers of these amazing players.
It really has.
Yeah.
And seeing how their stories fit into the broader context of how baseball is evolving.
It's like each player shows us a different path to greatness, right?
Exactly. Different ways of leaving their mark on the game.
We've got Ichiro with his focus on the fundamentals and incredible precision. Wagner, the guy who redefined what it meant to be a closer with his intensity and that killer instinct. And Sabathia, who just kept going season after season, leading by example on and off the field. But what really sticks with me is how their inductions kind of force us to think about how we define greatness. And not just in baseball, but in any field.
Totally agree. It's not just about racking up stats anymore. It's about impact, leadership, those qualities that you can't always capture in a box score.
Right. And those qualities, they're often developed through overcoming challenges, facing adversity. We touched on this before, but did the articles give any specific examples of setbacks these guys faced? Because I'm sure the road to the Hall of Fame wasn't always easy.
Oh, for sure. The path to the top is rarely a straight line. For Ichiro, I think one of the biggest hurdles was adapting to a whole new culture when he came to America, a new language, a different style of play. And on top of that, there are a lot of people who doubted he could make it in Major League Baseball.
It's amazing to think about the pressure he must have felt coming to a new country and trying to prove himself. And not just for himself, but for an entire nation watching him.
And for Wagner, the biggest challenge was battling injuries. He had multiple surgeries throughout his career, setbacks that would have sidelined a lot of guys for good.
It takes incredible mental strength to come back from something like that, not just once, but multiple times.
Absolutely. It speaks volumes about his dedication. It wasn't just talent, it was that refusal to give up.
And Sabathia, what were some of the obstacles he had to overcome?
Well, for Sabathia, it was more of a personal struggle. He battled alcoholism and had to seek treatment, and it was really brave of him to share his story publicly.
It's a good reminder that even the most successful people can face some really tough personal challenges, and it makes their achievements even more impressive in a way.
It humanizes them.
Right.
Shows us that they're not invincible, that they face real-life struggles just like the rest of us. And that makes their stories even more powerful, more relatable.
So we've talked about individual journeys, personal challenges, and how these players' stories reflect the changing landscape of baseball. But as we wrap up, I want to touch on something that's been a recurring theme throughout this deep dive. What do these inductions say about how we define greatness, both in baseball and beyond?
It's a question worth pondering, for sure. It seems like it's not just about stats and awards anymore. It's about impact, leadership, those less tangible qualities that make someone truly exceptional.
And those qualities are often forged through facing and overcoming adversity. It's about resilience, perseverance, the ability to learn and grow from your experiences, even the tough ones.
Well said. And I think these inductions, particularly Ichiro's, signal a real shift in how we value those qualities. A recognition that greatness comes in many forms and from many different backgrounds.
It's exciting to see baseball embrace that diversity, to see players from all over the world being recognized for their contributions to the game. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive on the next generation of Hall of Famers, players who continue to push boundaries and redefine what's possible.
I can't wait. It's a testament to the enduring power of sports, right? The way it can inspire us, challenge us, and ultimately bring us together.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the heart of baseball history. It's been an honor to share these stories with you, and we hope they've left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to embrace the next chapter of this amazing sport.